And we are live. Super excited to be here today with the amazing Mahisha Dellinger. We are going to go through a lot of different questions that I personally have for her, and I know a lot of our community members have submitted questions as well. But just as a quick introduction, again, I'm Allie Wyatt. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Female Founder Collective. And as a friendly reminder, we have the 10th house, which this is a sort of special edition that we do on LinkedIn, where we interview extraordinary founders. And then we take them inside of the 10th house to do Ask Me Anything sessions, where they can get a deep look into the extraordinary journeys of women like Mahisha. Mahisha, I'm super excited to have you here today. I'm going to give a little background on your extremely deep and varied career through your bio, but her mantra is simple: curly hair should be healthy, frizz-free, defined, and effortlessly fabulous. In 2002, Mahisha pioneered the newly natural market where she launched Curls, an award-winning family of organic hair care products targeted for women and girls embracing their natural curls. And as CEO and founder of Curls, Dellinger single-handedly built a strong demand for her popular family of organic products. That was way ahead of its time, by the way. You can find Curls in Target, Sally Beauty, Rite Aid, Walgreens, Walmart, and CVS, and beauty supply stores around the nation and internationally as well. She's an industry expert. She also serves on boards and keynotes for key organizations such as Black Enterprise, Money Magazine, Entrepreneur, Fast Money, and Essence, just to name a few. And she was appointed a small business advisor for Forbes. Entrepreneur actually named her one of the 100 most powerful women in the US. So we're incredibly honored to have her with us. She dedicates her time to helping women of color succeed in business and is star of Mind Your Business with Mahisha on OWN, Oprah Winfrey's television network, as the expert helping other women-based businesses reach the $1 million mark. She has also founded an MBA-style program, Black Women Making Millions Academy, that is set up to help 25,000 businesses with over $450 million worth of free resources, which is just extraordinary. She's a member of Greater Frisco Chapter and Jack and Jill of America. So many things that you do to give back, but you have had a very long story yourself of building out Curls. I love to sort of go back and hear about the original founder journey, what prompted you to start the business. And I know that for you, it was initially a side hustle, right?
Yeah.
So would love to sort of hear how you determined that this was going to become your full-time thing and sort of that break with the corporate world into building your own.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. I'm so happy to finally connect and be a part of this amazing community of women. So my journey was unique, actually. I didn't intend to be an entrepreneur. In fact, I wanted to continue on my career at Intel and retire there, I thought. But when I was faced with an unfortunate situation of corporate racism with one manager, and I want to preface it by saying I had 8 in my time there. And because Intel likes for you to change jobs every 12 to 18 months. So in my 8-year span there, I had about 6 to 8 different managers. So it was one bad experience. And it was the one that really shook me and really rattled my core because I was so determined to be successful, to rise the corporate ranks, to shoot up that ladder. And I was out there performing. But when I was targeted, and I knew pretty much fairly early on into what was going on when he put me on a corrective action plan to terminate me, what the basis was. And it was mind blowing for me. And in that moment, in that struggle, in that time of despair, when my dreams of I thought in a moment of being at Intel and thriving were shattered, I had to find another way. I knew that I didn't like someone else controlling my destiny because that's what that person was doing. I was trying to, elevate, escalate, and interview out. And this person was just badgering my name and blocking every opportunity. And I didn't like that feeling. I want really 100%, I wanted to control my destiny, control my financial legacy. I wanted to control how far I went. And when I realized I was kind of challenged in that space in that moment, I decided to branch out. Now, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I wasn't sure. I had a few ideas, and one was similar to the American Girl doll store. Oh my God. Can you imagine? That's such amazing, amazing success, right? Because I was a young mother, had a daughter, and really was looking for something unique for her that I actually could understand and benefit from. And of course, American Girl came. But I really, really also was into hair care. I was newly natural, looking for products for my hair, and the ethnic aisles were always full of chemicals, unnatural oils, just everything trash that you would not want in your hair because at the time, no one really thought that women of color cared about the health of their hair. And we were marketed trash, obviously, just really horrible stuff. And I saw an opportunity there because I was a customer looking for the products and couldn't find what I wanted. So I would actually at the time use Paul Mitchell mixed with a little bit of other store brands and mix it together. And sometimes it would be great, sometimes it wouldn't be. And I knew I wanted to create what I was looking for. So I did my due diligence, as you always should, if you're a new business owner or looking to create a business, dive deep into that business market, the landscape, the atmosphere, the competition, understanding in and out. And that's what I did and realized that, wow, there's a market here. I'm not the only one looking for these products. And I wanted to make sure that was going to be sustainable because once you launch a business is one thing, but sustainability is another thing. And so when I saw that the demand was there, I went forward with it. And that's what started the journey. It was that unfortunate situation in corporate that led me to see my potential outside of corporate. And then I started thinking of what my possibilities could be. So I look at that situation as a blessing. It changed my entire life and I became who I was supposed to be.
How did
And that's how it started.
So you talk about you wanted to make sure it was sustainable, which I love, right? I always tell founders that they should have a plan ahead of time and make sure that
Yes.
there is a market for the product that they want to create. How did you determine, okay, now this can become a full-time thing, right? There's enough demand out there, there's enough of a market for me to be able to pursue this.
Well, great question because I actually started on very small. One thing I always talk about, and we are all aware of women of color back then, or people of color, it was so hard to get business loans, small business loans, investment, venture capital funds. All
Yeah.
of that was really difficult. Now it's a lot easier. So I started very small. And for that reason, because I didn't have the ability, despite having great credit, personal credit, to get a loan, I had to use my personal savings. Okay, so because of that, started smaller. And because I also wanted to make sure that I grew my business without taking money from the business to live on, I did what I always recommend everyone I mentor. You should always keep a day job to pull and live from while you're growing your business. And I did that for 3 years. I didn't stay at
Wow.
Intel. It would have been impossible. I went to work for Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, and the way that worked for me is I need to see 8 doctors in a day. I was able to see 8 doctors by noon. The way I was so proactive with my scheduling and my appointments, and I had the top drugs in my class. In each class, I had the best territory, and I was always the first rep in the office, and that got my day going. So I was home by noon, and I work all the way from that point on curls. So every dollar that was made from Pfizer was what I lived on. And I reinvested every penny made on curls back into curls.
Wow. And with Pfizer, it was more of a sort of flexible position. That's why you decided to go there instead of being at Intel, because at Intel, it was more of a sort of a full-time 9 to 5 sort of job.
In the office, would not have been able to balance anything. Intel's like New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Super demanding.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have done that. Pfizer, it was my business. So, my business where I managed it. So I knew how to maneuver it. I knew how to make sure I had all my doctors seen and all my drugs
Yeah.
sampled and all the scripts written and everything I needed. And so I always recommend anyone who is a entrepreneur looking to go live with their own business. Number one, you can benefit from having a pharmaceutical sales job because you're going to learn how to sell. and you're gonna need that every step of the way with your business. But number two, it's a very flexible opportunity. It's a very flexible position, and you schedule your appointments. So I always recommend to look into sales, and the commissions and bonuses are all amazing. So if you give it a top-notch one, and you're looking to, if you're, because I always recommend not quitting your job because you need to live on some funding unless you have
Yeah.
rich parents, investors, I don't know, a humongous savings. Never just go out and quit your job. I never recommend that. So for those who are looking to do it that way, a sales job is always the best way to manage both.
I love that very specific advice because I think that's one of the biggest questions we get is like, how do I know when it's time to quit, or and how do I manage a full-time job in
Yeah.
addition to building out a very full-time business?
Yes.
Um, and I wanna talk for a second about a stat, which is that 80% of businesses will fail by year
Mhm.
5, and this is something that you have famously spoken about. Why do you think this is the case, Mahisha, and what do you think founders can do um, to avoid being part of this stat?
It's the laws of averages. I think it really is the way it works, the way the cookie crumbles, as they say. Um, the best way to avoid that, and I was desperately, fighting against being at the 20% or the 80%, is to make sure that you, and some people won't do this. I notice this when I mentor people, about 80% do not have a business plan. You
Yeah,
have to prepare a solid business plan. Failing to plan is planning to fail. If you don't know your
yeah,
structure or where you're going, how you're going to get there, what are you doing? You're just aimlessly out there. And I went to school, a business school, so I knew how to do so. But there are resources. I love to recommend SCORE, like scoreagoal.org. They provide free business writing classes, marketing plan writing classes, free mentors. And they have all these classes every weekend with campuses all over the nation. And all these resources are free. And the mentors that they connect you with, they pair you with someone in your industry. And I went there when I first got started. So there's no excuse not to have a plan. But you also need to make sure that you not only have your plan, but you have your infrastructure in place. So you got your plan, but also your people. Who are you going to have when you start? Is it going to be you with all the different hats, wearing all the hats, or are you going to bring in other people to support? Because your team is super important, and you want to make sure that you have a solid marketing plan as well, and make sure your product is where it needs to be. Whatever it is, whatever you're selling, you want to make sure that when you go to market, that you have everything in place. When we first launched Curls, and I did it on a small scale, I started with 4 products. I have over 250 now, but I had 4 products, and I put so much work into making sure those 4 products were amazing. So make sure what you go to market with is going to really represent your brand, because a lot of times, especially now, you have social media, you have people talking and raving, either ranting or raving about you. People are watching. You have one chance to make a good impression. So especially when we're talking products and reviews are important, make sure that you do your due diligence and make sure your product is amazing before you go to market. That's going to be uber important as well.
and in terms of when you talk about your product being amazing and having your people ready, one thing I do tend to see as well is there's also too much perfectionism, right? Where, how good is good enough? And at what point do you just let it go and release and then iterate? Do you have any
That's a good
thoughts on that?
point. That's a good point. I mean, you want it to be great. You don't want to, halfway do and half release something. But there are always opportunities to grow and improve and reformulate. I've done that myself. Like the 4 products I went with to market with changed by year 3. I had more additions to it. And as
Right.
the market changed and people were more concerned about silicones, for example, we
Yeah.
shifted gears. So you have to be agile. And so starting with a great product, but be open and agile enough to make changes as you go. But definitely give it your best shot out the gate.
Yeah.
I don't want people to fall back and go, well, it's not, 100% perfect, because things will shift.
Yeah.
Definitely don't let that, make you go backwards and fall backwards inside regarding your launch plans. You definitely want to make sure that you don't become procrastinator. That's going to kill your dreams. That will definitely kill your dreams. So make sure you do move forward, but be open to revisions along the way. And I was very agile with that. As things evolved and we learned more and we became more susceptible to issues around parabens, for example, revamping the whole line with that. So just really keeping your ear and your pulse to your consumer will enable you to make changes later.
So be willing to be iterative and be able to sort of be nimble.
And
Um,
listen.
yes, listening to your customer. How did you I want to go back to sort of the beginning again and talk about, you touched on funding, right? And you said
Yes.
you had your full-time but flexible job that helped you to invest in curls. At what point did you ever go out and get a small business loan after that? Once you sort of established a great sort of business forecast, did you how did you fund the growth of the business after that initial investment that you used your own funds to fund?
Yes, good question. So after I used my initial savings to launch curls and then, had my side job to fund my personal life, every penny again that was made from curls was reinvested back into the brand. But when it came time, and that was e-commerce only, that was when we were just small e-commerce based. And
Yeah.
then once we got that call from Target and the buyer wanted to talk to curls, and when we had the meeting, she decided in 5 minutes into the meeting she wanted everything we had. I
Oh,
had to have more money, of course, a bigger investment to go produce all these products, right?
yeah,
So I did not use my personal money for that. And I always recommend people, when you have a production type business where you're selling products or widgets to like retailers, they submit POs for you and you have to produce those, and then they receive them and pay it in 30 days. There's a cycle, right?
yeah,
Yeah. PO, produce, ship, pay. That cycle goes on and on. I didn't put my money, personal money, into that cycle. I got a line of credit, and that's something I always recommend. I always suggest going to a small community bank, not,
mhm,
maybe not one of the bigger ones like Chase or Bank of America, but a small community bank in your city. They tend to work better, and they're more flexible, and they seem to want to really create that relationship in their local community, and they will do more for you. And that's what I did, right? So that I was able to get a line of credit. And so whenever I got the purchase orders, from Target and Walmart and CVS and all the places, I would do one PO, all one mass PO to my manufacturer, right? And use the money from the line of credit to pay for that, and then ship the products. And once I got paid from Target, Walmart, and CVS, et cetera, I would pay off the line of credit. So it was a cycle of that. And then that boosted my business credit. I kept my personal funds out of it. And that's how I kept growing the business.
amazing. And Mahisha, you're giving such incredible and tactical advice for founders, and it's so clear that you've had your own experience doing this, right? Where a lot of times people will give advice, and in theory, that sounds great, but when you get into practice, it feels impossible. I want to talk about Black women making millions and the academy that you've built, and the mentorship that you're doing. Can you talk to us about why you decided to do that, and maybe some of the people that are involved, as well as the curriculum?
Sure. So after my show on Own Wrapped, Mind Your Business with Mahisha, I was flooded with requests to personal mentor so many people. And of course, there's only one of me, and I couldn't, take everyone on. So I decided, let me figure out a way to bring that show on steroids, but also provide massive resources, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it was born. About 7 months later, we had our first in-person event. This is pre-COVID. 4-day conference retreat with so many amazing tracks and workshops and classes and breakout sessions and evening events. And it was just phenomenal. We did that in California, and it was gorgeous. And then we went from that to regional, and then local, and now we're virtual. But we're going back to in person next year. So we had 3 tracks: the startup, brand new business owner that needs help from everything from top to bottom to get going. The come up is a brand that's already in business but needs help growing. And then the blow up, a brand that needs funding and they were pitching for resources. So we had like Bank of America and Chase active. We had a lot of different professionals that were representing and teaching in different classes. And each track, they had like 4 or 5 classes a day with breakout sessions. It was phenomenal.
Amazing.
So we're working on that for next year again. Right now, every weekend we have classes, and they range from SEO, digital marketing, to how to write a business plan, to pitching retail partners. We even had the director of merchandising and the buying and merchandising director of Walmart present and it was
Wow.
amazing. Angel Beasley. Oh my gosh, the nuggets that I wish I had before I was in retail, like what they're looking for, how to prepare your presentation, how to stand out from all the competition, how to get an appointment with her. I mean, it was amazing, phenomenal. So we get those kind of people with that level of exposure to help our people. So it's been a ride. It's been so incredible. And one of the things for me, it's been important to do this is because Black female-based businesses are up there on the rise. We're up like 300%. But according to the numbers, less than 4% make it to see the $1 million mark. That's why Oprah wanted me to do the show. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. The lack of information, resource access to the tools they need is the reason why. So I'm trying to help bridge that gap.
Amazing. And we're aligned in that, and that was the problem that we saw with Female Founder Collective, and why we established 10th House. I want to sort of end talking a bit about grit, because you talk about this as such an important tool and characteristic of a founder. Are there any sort of pieces of advice you can give on harnessing grit and building your own grit in a daily practice as a founder?
Honestly, I get that question all the time. There's no way I can teach anyone or give that special to someone. Grit is something you're born with.
Yeah,
That determination, perseverance, fighter kind of mentality is something you either have or you don't.
yeah,
And so I hate to say it, I don't want to sound so negative, but you just have it's internal. It's
yeah,
something that's naturally born. And I think sometimes it's also a part of your environment. And I had a lot of that with my background growing up. So my determination to change things gave me my grit. My experience with my growing up was challenged in my neighborhood and my life and everything that I went through from a young girl up all the way up to my early 20s gave me that grit. So sometimes you either just born naturally aggressive, determined, and you have perseverance, or the environment creates that in you. But
yeah,
teaching it, that's another thing. I
yeah.
wish I had an answer for that.
It's a
If
really
someone has a school for grit, I don't know, they'd be a billionaire.
Yeah, it's almost something you have to teach as a parent. And talking about parents, you are mother of four, in addition to your company.
Yeah.
You simultaneously raised 4 children, which, like, I have 3 and often feel like I am just absolutely stretched the limit. So I have no idea how you've been able to navigate that.
3 and 4, they're the same. Just add one more, it'll feel the same, I
Just
promise you.
pile them on. But my question for you with that is, as a mother, are there any sort of tools and things that you've learned that have really helped you to grow your business and to become a different kind of leader and manager?
100%, 1,000%. I liken my children, managing them to like my staff. Like they're so different. I cannot have 4 different kids. I mean, more different than what they are. They're so uniquely different. So managing what their needs are individually and being able to be the mother to each individual person.
Yeah.
And I have a straight hair girl daughter and a curly hair girl. I'm telling them both, your hair is beautiful the way it is. I have to tell the
Yeah.
straight hair girl, your hair is gorgeous. Don't change it. You want curly hair. And the curly girl wants straight hair. I'm like, no, it's gorgeous. Leave it. So I'm being what she needs from me and what she needs from me. I have to be the same way with my employees. So it's helped me be more emotionally connected to what they need beyond what they're doing for their jobs. Some people don't need to have a pat on the back. They just want to thrive and get it going and get paid. Other people need more, either outwardly, notifications and acknowledgments, or emails and flowers sent. I mean, every person's different. So I've been able to learn how to manage personnel, which is my most important commodity, right? Of my business. The most important thing for my company is to have the right staff, and the staff that is committed to my brand. And I've had such a lot of long-standing employees because I care about them first. And I
Yeah.
care about them the way that I care about my children,
Yeah.
their well-being. I know things about my employees I probably shouldn't even know, but it's a relationship that's built on trust, personal connectivity. We celebrate birthdays and kids' birthdays and anniversaries, and it's just a family. And so I treat them
Yeah.
that way, and that's why I have such a strong staff.
And I love that you said that personnel is your most important asset. I've always
Yeah,
believed that as well, that people aren't replaceable, and so
right.
you need to act accordingly. Um,
Yes.
and then my final question for you before we wrap is just I always ask somebody at the end about, one of the most transformative pieces of advice that they've gotten along the way, or even I know you have a mantra that's specific to curls, but maybe a personal philosophy that has helped you to win and ultimately succeed in your career.
I have a few, but one that is so simple, and it doesn't seem like it's a big piece of advice or something that's just so revolutionary, but it's something that was ingrained in me and I believe is part of my success. My mother always taught me the spirit of giving. So I believe to whom much is given, much is required. There's a karmic law, no matter what you believe spiritually, religiously, there's a karmic law no matter who you are, that as you reap, so you reap and you sow, you reap and you sow. So as I'm reaping my good harvest, but I sowed good, seeds. And I believe that's a big piece of my success, is that karmic law of my ability to be such a giver, the desire to be a giver, my actions in giving, and with my time, with my talent, and with my treasures. And
Mm.
that's why I do feel that I've been successful. Besides working hard, the karmic law has benefited me too.
Yeah, I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for giving to all of us today. And please let us know where people can reach you, both by way of for curls, how
Okay.
they can support you there, but also for Black women making millions, how to find you.
Okay. So definitely follow me on Instagram, Mahisha_Dellinger. Follow Curls on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere at Curls. But Black Women Making Millions Academy on Instagram. You'll see so many amazing information tidbits and articles and resources and links to all of our different amazing classes, lives with me, which I go live regularly to do one-on-one coaching there. So yeah, it's a great resource. So definitely follow all those places. But if you start with my page, then you'll have access to all of them.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. We're really,
Thank
really
you.
grateful. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.